I'm showing 10 o'clock on the dot, so let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. Um, If everyone would, go ahead and mute their microphone and only turn it on when you are ready to speak. Um, All members that are on the board do have to remain on video for the duration of the meeting, though. So leave that on, and then obviously I'm muting my cell phone. Those things tend to show up at the wrong time. So if we can, let's move from agenda item A to B, which is roll call. And I'll have Alex Ortiz do the roll call. If you would please, sir, and announce if we have a quorum or not.
Yes, sir. Okay. Mr. Jason Flint,
Here.
Mr. Alvaro Rosales, Mr. Michael Becker,
I hear.
Mr. Mike Pyburn, excuse me,
Here.
Mr. Roger Russell,
I'm here.
and Mr. Johnny Rusty Gilmore, and Mr. Billy Lang.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, sir. Agenda item C, open government training. I'm going to call on Michael Bostic, the Assistant General Counsel, for his participation.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Flint. Let me go ahead and share my presentation here. All right. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so good morning, everyone. My name is Michael Bostic. I'm the Assistant General Counsel assigned to the Water Well Drillers Program, and I'll be conducting your open government training this morning. So the three statutes we're going to cover today are the Open Meetings Act, that's Texas Government Code Chapter 551, the Administrative Procedure Act, which is Government Code Chapter 2001, and the Public Information Act, which is Government Code Chapter 552. So first up, we have the Open Meetings Act. You want to pay special attention to this one since it's the one most pertinent to you today. The purpose of the Open Meetings Act is to ensure open and transparent government. The act applies to governmental bodies like this advisory board and requires public notice of the time, place, and subject matter of the meeting. Under the act, local government entities are required to post 72 hours in advance of a meeting, but here you're in the big leagues as a state board, and so public notice is required to be posted 7 days in advance of the meeting. All right, so some key concepts of the act here. So first we have a quorum. A quorum means majority. The Open Meetings Act requires there to be a quorum of members present to take official action as a board. That's why we have roll here at the beginning. You can meet without having a quorum, but you can't take any official action as a board without having that quorum. Excuse me. All right, our next concept, deliberation. So this one is pretty intuitive. It's what we're going to do here today. So meetings. Meetings occur when a quorum of the governmental body deliberates regarding public business or policy over which it has supervision or control. And so from a couple of slides ago, who can tell me what has to happen before we have a meeting? The answer will be next. It is notice. All right. So the Open Meetings Act requires written notice of the date, time, place, and subject of each meeting held. So Alex and the rest of the TDLR team takes care of posting the notice for our meeting today. But the important thing that you need to remember here is that you may not engage in discussions about a subject that is not included in the posted agenda. because that subject has not been noticed. So if you do engage in that discussion that's outside the agenda, I'll do my best to jump in and stop you. If that does happen and I interrupt you, just know that I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just looking out for you and making sure we stay on the noticed posted agenda. All right. What about social functions or conventions where you may all be in the same place? Is that considered a meeting? Under the Open Meetings Act, a meeting occurs when a quorum of members deliberate on an issue within your jurisdiction. And remember that the meetings have to be noticed and open to the public. So this doesn't mean that a quorum of you can't talk to each other at a conference lunch table, but it does mean that you couldn't all discuss board business at the lunch table together. So how about them Cowboys is fine as a discussion topic, but water wells off limits in that scenario. All right, so the key point here, the broad takeaway is that if you're outside of a properly noticed meeting and a quorum of you are all together chatting, you need to be especially aware of what you're talking about and take care not to violate the act by discussing board business. This may seem like something that's unlikely to happen because you may not get together often, but you have to be aware of something called a walking quorum. So what is a walking quorum? A walking quorum is when a minority of members engage in discussion about official business and then communicate that discussion to the other members. So while the initial discussion may have been with less than a quorum, that subsequent communication to the other members could then form a quorum and violate the Open Meetings Act. So this is especially pertinent in things like email chains, right? So let's talk about an example here. So let's say a 5-member advisory board. 2 members exchange phone calls, emails, and research on an issue that's before the board to be discussed. 1 member then forwards that exchange to a 3rd member. By including that 3rd member, they have now engaged in a walking quorum and violated the Open Meetings Act because they deliberated on the issue without it being properly noticed and open to the public. So walking quorums, when they can commonly occur, this can happen during conference calls, video conferences, hallway discussions, and now you have to be especially aware of online comment sections in places like Twitter and Facebook. If you're commenting, discussing board business, and all of you start appearing in the comment section, you could form a walking quorum and violate the act. So just some general best practices to avoid the walking quorum. Don't discuss board business in small groups and then share that with the other members. Don't send emails or text messages to a quorum of members about board business, even if each message is sent to each member individually. Don't create posts on social media about board business. And don't ask the board members for feedback on board business outside of the public meeting. This practice is commonly called polling, and it turns into a walking quorum as soon as one member tells the other members how everyone plans to vote. So you're polling the board on how everyone's going to vote on an issue that's before the board. Okay, some guidelines for our meeting today. Remember that you're limited to discussing what's on the agenda because that's what's been properly noticed. If you go beyond that, I'll do my best to jump in and guide us back on the path, but ultimately it's up to you. If there are any public comments today, which I don't believe that there are, the chair may set reasonable limits on those public comments. And remember that members of the public may raise a subject that's not on the agenda. However, any board discussion on the subject must be limited to proposing that topic for a future meeting. All right, some more best practices. So let's limit discussion to the specific agenda items. Avoid wandering off into other subjects that have not been noticed. And don't respond to any subjects that are raised by members of the public unless they are on the agenda. If you want something on a future agenda, you tell Alex and the rest of TLR staff. and we'll make sure that that happens. Okay, so now for the bad stuff about the Open Meetings Act. So I've told you what not to do. Here's what could happen if you do it anyway. So first, there's civil penalties. Any interested person has standing to file suit to stop actions that are taken in violation of the Open Meetings Act. Also, if it's determined after the fact that an action was taken in violation of the act, that action is voidable by a court. Criminal penalties. So the criminal penalties for violating the act range from a Class C misdemeanor up to the penalty you see here on the bottom of the slide, depending on the violation. And those are found in Texas Government Code Section 551.143 through 146 if you want to take a look, but hopefully you'll never need to look at those. All right. So if you remember any part of this presentation today, remember these two things. Number one, avoid communications that involve a quorum of members about official business outside of a properly noticed meeting. And two, during our meetings, stick to the topics on the agenda. Right? And here are some resources for you, places that links we can forward you, and always you can give us a call if you have any specific questions. All right. Third of the way through here. So up next, we've got the Administrative Procedure Act. So the APA governs how state agencies make our rules that implement the laws passed by the legislature, as well as other policy. So it provides the minimum standards of practice for state agencies and public participation in the rulemaking process. All right, what is a rule? So the APA defines a rule as a general statement from an agency that implements or interprets law and policy. A rule can also be a general statement that describes the procedural requirements of the agency. So essentially, think of a rule as it can be what you have to do and how you have to do it. Okay. Statements. So APA definition of a rule. So statements regarding internal matters of the agency that don't affect private rights are not considered rules. However, any change, repeal, or amendments to the existing rules in the Texas Administrative Code is considered a rule under the APA. The common sources for rulemaking, we have legislative changes. As you know, the 89th legislative session just ended. We have changes suggested by advisory boards like yourself, TDLR staff, our statutorily required 4-year rule review process, and then rule petitions. All right, so rule petitions. The APA allows interested persons to petition TDLR to make a rule. An interested person is anyone who meets these criteria here. Texas resident, a business entity located in Texas, a governmental subdivision in Texas, a public or private organization that is not a state agency, but is located in Texas. Okay, so now for the rulemaking process here, we've got a flow chart. So this is an overview of the rulemaking process from start to finish in a simplified form. Note that this is the process that TDLR uses, and other agencies may differ slightly, although some of these things are required by statute, so it will be the same. Also, in the case of rules that are implementing bills from the legislature, we may vary from this structure as allowed by the APA to meet statutory deadlines. But essentially, we have the internal portion first. We have our rule idea and drafting. We go on to our review and analysis. Then the rules go to the governor's office for approval, and then they will go to you at the first advisory board meeting. After they're approved by you, then we file them in the we publish them in the Texas Register. That puts the rules out for public comment, and the members of the public have 30 days to make those comments. As those comments come in, we review and prepare responses to those comments. Then we have a second advisory board meeting with you to address the comments and determine if we need to make any changes based on issues raised by the public. And once we're satisfied and once you approve those, then the rules go to the commission. And after they are approved by the commission, then they're published again, an adoption notice in the Texas Register, before finally they are effective and appear in the Texas Administrative Code where they're final. So the rule review process here. So this is the rule review process that is required by the APA. Every 4 years, we have to evaluate each rule set to make sure the rules are still necessary and essential to achieve their goal. The rule review for the water well drillers program was just completed this year. So the next rule review will be in 2029. And here are resources for the rulemaking process. All right, so our last one here, the Public Information Act or the Open Records Act. The Public Information Act or PIA is intended to allow public access to information about the affairs of government and public officials. It makes all documents and records related to official business open to the public with certain exceptions. Public information includes electronic communication that exists on any device if it is connected with official agency business. The Act is construed liberally in favor of granting requests for information. So what does this mean for you? If you receive a written request for records that looks like a public information request, you should forward that to Office of General Counsel immediately. You don't ask the requester why or any other clarifying information, just forward it directly to us if it appears that you received one of those. If you receive a request from our GC General Counsel Open Records team, please respond to that request immediately. The time that we have to respond to open records requests is very short, so it's important that we act on them very quickly, hence the need for the urgency here. Remember that the general rule is that information is subject to disclosure. However, some information must be redacted before it is disclosed, and this includes date of birth, email addresses, and other sensitive information. And here are our resources for the Public Information Act. And that is the conclusion of my slideshow. Thank you all very much. Let me know if you have any questions.
Great. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Moving on to action item D, approval of the minutes from the September 21st, 2023 meeting. Do we need to review anything on there or just approve them as they've been recorded?
Yes, so they were sent out about a week, 2 weeks ago, but yeah, if anyone has any corrections or additions, they can put those. If not, then we can just go ahead and vote to see if everyone approves.
If there's no discussion or changes need to be made, I'd entertain a motion and a second for approval.
I make that motion, we approve them as read or as copied.
Have a second. Second from Mr. Pyburn. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
I could, Mr. Flynn, I can do a roll call for that.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Mr. Becker,
Aye.
Mr. Pyburn, Mr. Pyburn, I couldn't hear you.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Russell,
Aye.
Mr. Lang,
Aye.
and Mr. Flint.
Aye.
Okay, the motion passes, sir.
All right. Item E, public comment. And I don't believe there was any request for public comment to the TDLR, or no response from anyone requesting public comment.
Yes, sir. The request was put out there for public comment, and however, we did not receive any public comments for this meeting.
Excellent. Okay, moving on to action item F, which is staff reports. I'm going to call on Jennifer Cortez from licensing and permit specialist, who is the licensing and permit specialist lead.
Good morning. I'm Jennifer Cortez, a licensing specialist lead for water well driller and pump installer. And in front of you, you can see our staff report for the Texas Water Well Driller Advisory Board for fiscal year of 2026. Included through it's September 1st of 2025 through October 31st of 2025. You'll see our licensing for water well driller and pump installer totals for the apprentice water well driller and pump installers, and the overall licensing issued. For our current projects, as you can see, water well driller and pump installer licenses, we began issuing 2-year license with a 2-year expiration date. And this went into effect January 1st of 2024. And for existing licenses, the expiration dates of March 1st of 2024 and later are now being issued 2-year licenses. We have 8 hours of continuing education is now required for all water well drillers and pump installer renewals. And as of right now, our agency is currently involved in a project to develop a new licensing system it's called TDLR Core. And the new system will provide online services for all of our applicants, a majority of our applicants, and renewals. It's a self-service options such as updating information like phone numbers, emails, mailing addresses, and also completing and submitting documentations online that may be needed. As you already know, we license multiple types of licenses here, so the project is expected to take several years to be fully implemented. As we implement those, program websites will be provided update on the websites for those programs that will be transitioned into the new system. And you may also subscribe to our email notifications if you haven't done so already to get updates on that as well. So we're excited that we're going to be able to deliver this system, and hopefully it'll be better user-friendly for all our applicants and our licensees. Do y'all have any questions?
I do have a question actually on your chart there. Am I reading this correctly that water well drillers and pump installers, our total license holders for the fiscal year 25 is 1,660 drillers and pump installers, and then 720 apprentices? That's the total of active licenses in the state right now?
Currently, right now is what we have.
Okay. All right. That's good to know.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Other-
All right. If we don't have any other questions or comments, let's move on to item 2 from staff reports. Education and Exam Division. I'm going to call on Todd Forrester, Outreach Audits and Policy Manager.
Yes, sir. I'm Todd Forrester. I'm with the Education and Examination Division as a manager here. You have our statistics for the last 2 fiscal years, the pass-fail rate. We also have it broken down by license type for the last fiscal year. So as of August 31st, 2025, we weren't able to quite get the November numbers for this meeting, so we should have the first quarter, the next fiscal year, next meeting. We also have continuing education approval. These are the courses that are approved for water well drillers for y'all to take before you renew your licenses. And that being said, I'm open to any questions y'all may have.
Questions from anyone on the board? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Moving on to Customer Service Division, I'm going to call on Mayra Rodriguez, Customer Service Manager.
Hi, good morning, board members and TDLR staff. My name is Myra Rodriguez, and I am one of the managers in the Customer Service Division that oversees this program for our staff. As you can see as well here for fiscal year 2026, when the report was submitted, we didn't have the November numbers yet, but we will update those, as we close the end of the month. And currently, we have a total of 168 contacts for the month of October, which is the most updated month that we have available for this current fiscal year. And you have the statistics here for fiscal year 2025 in total. This is not one of our larger programs that receives phone calls or emails, and I'm available for any questions that you might have.
All right. Any questions from the board? Okay, thank you. Item 4, Enforcement Division. I'm going to call on Christina Rojas Stompel, who is our prosecutor.
Good morning, members of the council. My name is Christina Rojas Stampo, and I am prosecutor with the Enforcement Division, and I will be presenting your report for you today. So at the top, you can see our performance measures, which are reported to the legislature. These statistics are for September 1st through the month of August for fiscal year 2024 and fiscal year 2025. And as you can see, the number of complaints opened decreased from fiscal year 2024 to 2025. Also, the percentage of complaints resulting in disciplinary action also decreased. The next section of the report is the criminal history review for applicants who may have disqualifying criminal history, and these cases are handled by our criminal history team. The next section, the complaints received by source, that details the 2 sources of complaints, either by a consumer or by the department. And at the top of that next page, there is a pie chart depiction for you. And as you can see, only 2 departmental cases were opened in fiscal year 2025 versus the preceding fiscal year. And so far in this fiscal year, we are seeing a decrease. In fiscal year 2025, we saw a decrease in total complaints received, and we managed to close more cases than we have opened. The next section, orders issued. That's the final outcome of a disciplinary action, and the total number of orders decreased in fiscal year 2025. At the top of the next page, you can see the cases that were closed without any disciplinary action. The next section, alleged violations at opening. This is the reason that a case was opened initially, and it has all the different types of violations listed. And then the final section shows the violations which resulted in disciplinary action. And then finally, at the end of the report, there are 2 case highlights that are included, and I'm available to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions from the board? Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Got a question. Up to the first page.
Yes, sir.
The average time for closing went from 328 days to 547 days.
Yes.
Any explanation for that? That's almost a 70% increase in the time it takes to close a case.
Right. Well, generally, it's due to staff turnover. We've had a lot of changes in our staff. I'm pretty new to the agency, been here about 3 months. So that's a big part of it. Also, we had David Gunn retire. But yeah, mainly it's just staffing. We've been shorthanded prosecutors, so obviously it's going to take longer to review these cases. And we want to make sure that every case is getting the review and the attention that it deserves.
Mike, I think you're muted.
No, I don't know why it's not picking me up. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My concern there is that, delayed justice is no justice. I mean, those cases, that's a long time from the beginning to the end of a complaint. And, it's a concern to me. I realize you have to be thorough and you have to go through the process. There's been a lot of turnover, but in my mind, 550 days is not acceptable.
I understand that concern, and we are doing our best to get that number down.
Additional comments? I do have one request. Are we able to have a copy of these reports when we're through with the meeting?
I believe you should have already gotten those, but
Okay.
Yes, these, all staff reports were included in the board materials that were sent out.
Okay.
But if you didn't get them or if you'd like another, I can definitely resend that to the board.
Okay. Thank you. No further comments. We'll move on to item number 5, the compliance division, and I'm going to call on Chris Hoiboer, the water well driller and hydrologist team lead.
Morning, everybody. My name is Chris Hoiboer, the lead hydrologist with the Water Well Driller program. We have a lot of stuff, a lot of changes. As others have said before, there's a lot of staff turnover. As some of you may know, David Gunn retired at the beginning of the year after a very long stint at TDLR. And Adam Foster left slightly before that to become the ED of Texas Alliance of Groundwater Districts. So a lot of the old staff is gone. I had the opportunity to work with both of them and get trained up on the ins and outs of the program before taking over in July. Then Larry Estrada, one of the hydrologists that we had hired, had left the agency for a different position. And more recently, we've hired 2 new hydrologists, Pecos and Jasmine, in September and October of this year. We do still have 1 hydrologist position open that we are looking to fill as soon as possible. Next, our inspections. I broke it down between fiscal year. A couple notable changes between fiscal year 24-25 and the previous staff report. Our consumer complaints, which is essentially our enforcement complaints that we inspected, tripled. Previously, it was 13, now it's 33, and that kind of continued through fiscal year 25 being 30. Other than that, we've, because there have been so many more enforcement complaints, we've kind of lowered the amount of randoms that we've done. But overall, the amount of inspections have, even with staffing issues, have stayed relatively consistent. Next, I'll go down to projects. As we had said previously, we are working on a new licensing system. Compliance has been involved in that. We've been working with the software development company to test and kind of lay out the framework of what the program needs, or what the licensing system needs to meet the program needs. We have also worked recently with TCEQ, Railroad Commission, on the Leaky Water Well Grant Program. And I'll go down to outreach next. A lot of the same stuff that we kind of attend every year. West Texas Symposium, the Texas Groundwater Association, or our big conference every year, geoscience seminars, the Texas, or the Public Drinking Water, TCEQ Public Drinking Water Conference, both years. A lot of the same conferences that we go to, but we are looking to kind of expand our outreach opportunities. I know I was talking to some people about going to the National Groundwater Conference, and it's on the radar. Unfortunately, we won't be able to make it this year, but we are trying to get there next year. Along with kind of expanding our outreach, we are going to the South Texas Code Enforcement Officers Conference today, actually. This week, we've kind of been ramping up, talking to other industries' field staff in attempts to try and get people to identify wells that are not in compliance, either whether it be abandoned or just wells that don't meet our compliance regulations. Really, the goal behind this is to more boots on the ground, more people that have visibility of wells. I mean, we are currently a team of 3 covering the entire state of Texas. We don't have the ability to do truly what's necessary to see the wells that could be issues. So we're reaching out to other people who are out, specifically code enforcement officers, county inspectors. I mean, we've worked on a lot recently to try and expand those opportunities. Trainings, we've been working a lot with GCDs, Post Oak Savannah, Clearwater, to also train some of their field staff. And then finally, we have been working with the EPA on the Sandy Beach contamination issue last year. And earlier this year, we had met with Representative Zwiner to discuss ongoing water well program issues. But that is all that I had. Do we have any questions?
Don't hear any. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
And then moving on to item 6, agency update. I'll call on Doug Jennings, our General Counsel.
All right, thank you. Thanks for having me today, and it's great to see y'all. Doug Jennings, General Counsel, for the licensing and regulatory services part of TDLR. That is something that you probably haven't heard before. We've recently had to start distinguishing between licensing and regulatory services, which is of course what the water well drillers and pump installers program is part of, and the lottery, Texas Lottery and Charitable Bingo part of TDLR. If you were watching the news over the summer during the legislative session, you will have seen that the Texas Lottery and Charitable Bingo programs were transferred to TDLR as part of Senate Bill 3070. Just wanted to give you a little bit of information about that. That transition is going very well. We're integrating it well. And along with that program came some dollar numbers that we have not seen at TDLR before. So just a little info for you. Over fiscal year 2025, the Texas Lottery generated $1.8 billion for the state of Texas, and that's out of nearly $8 billion in total sales. And of those funds, about 1.8 billion, yes, capital B billion, was contributed to the Foundation School Fund, and that is a fund that goes to support Texas public schools, including teacher salaries and school operations. And a record $31 million was provided to the Fund for Veterans Assistance. And that money will support grants for organizations that serve Texas veterans and their families. One of the things that we probably don't hear often enough in these meetings is, where that money raised by the lottery and charitable bingo goes. Obviously, the charitable bingo program makes many different charitable donations as well. So that was the big news for us over the legislative session. But we have a couple of other programs I wanted to give you a little information about as well. During the legislative session, there was a bill, House Bill 4216, which created regulation for what's called delivery network companies. So we've been regulating transportation network companies. Those are the ride-sharing apps, Uber, Lyft, you name it. And so now your Grubhubs, your Favors, DoorDash, et cetera, we're going to be regulating and licensing those folks as well. So that's new for us. And then another program new program for us that's been in the news is regulation of residential solar retailers. I'm sure, it's been a nationwide issue. We've seen reports of bad solar installations, fraudulent representations, things like that, to folks who are interested in purchasing solar energy system for their homes. So TDLR will be regulating that, starting. We've already started implementing some of those, having some of those meetings and getting those rules started. It's looking really promising, but that should also bring a lot of relief. We're really hoping to Texas consumers. And with the addition of those new programs, TDLR now serves over 1 million licensees within the state of Texas. And that's, once again, if you've been watching TDLR over the last decade, we've been growing very rapidly. I know a decade just in government time is the blink of an eye. So we've really expanded our operations and programs, and just are really excited about what the future holds. One last update, and we did hear your frustration about the time to completion for some of the enforcement cases. What I don't want to get missed is that enforcement over the last over the last fiscal year fielded over 12,000 complaints, completed more than 7,000 investigations, and collected at least $800,000 in consumer restitution. That team, that division is working hard and working well, and just wanted to give you all those updates. Happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions, comments from the board? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Looks like item G, recommendations for agenda items for the next board meeting. So if anyone on the board has any recommendations they would like to add to the agenda on the next meeting.
Yes, I have a question for Chris on that. Our last thing we done was we met on the commingling issue, and I was wondering when we might meet again with that, and maybe if we could possibly have something that we could recommend for the next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had a little bit of work done on the commingling issue, the work group. The bottom line is it's not necessarily in a spot where we're comfortable with it. It's not something that would be deliverable. So we're looking at putting some more work into it. If that comes in the form of needing another work group, I'm more than happy. I think we can set that up. But bottom line is, yeah, we want to put a little bit more work into it to make sure that the changes made are as good as possible.
Okay, so is that something you would initiate as a work group on that, Chris?
Yeah, I'm more than happy to do that now if that's something that we would be willing to do.
Yeah, and I don't remember who all was on that work group, but yeah, I would think we sometime in the next few months or something we should get that
Mhm.
back going.
Yep, absolutely.
And
I do
Mr.
have a
Russell, I will work with Chris and get the information from the previous work group and get that sorted out so we can get that set up.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
other
Just had a
recommendations? Mike, I'm sorry, it came through broken.
I just had a question. I think that work group was Roger, Bill, myself, and Rusty, if I recall correctly. That's what it was before, pretty sure. As far last time in our last meeting in 2023, we had a vote to make a rule recommendation that apprentices would be required to have the same CE requirements as licensees. And it didn't make the last rules package. Is that something that we can be sure will be in this next go around?
This is Michael Bostic, Assistant GC for the program. If you would, since I just started with TDLR here in January, so I'm not aware of what happened during that last meeting, but I think that's something that we can absolutely consider adding to the rule package next time that it comes up comes around here for this program. Which so right now we're currently undergoing bill implementation for all the to get the rules ready for all the bills that passed, which there weren't any significant changes for the water well driller program. So bill implementation is taking precedent right now, and then we will get to the other needed changes after that. So I expect next year sometime is when we can make those changes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And also feel free to reach out to me directly with your concerns as well.
I do have one item I would like to add to the agenda for the next meeting, and it's something that I've been kind of thinking about for a while, how to present it. And the reason I ask about the total population number or the total number of licenses there are in Texas, I'd like to put on the agenda next time the discussion about increasing staffing. I know David Gunn left, and Chris is doing all he can do right now, and he's got new employees with TDLR. But logistically, with 2,300 license holders in the state, and travel time from north to south, in a vehicle is 13 hours. East to west is 10 hours. And the fact that also this year, I believe some of the weather modification complaints are now being handled by the water well division in TDLR. Is that correct, Chris?
Yeah, that is correct. That was so it's always been a part of the water well driller program ever since George Bomar had left. Adam had taken that over a few years ago, I think a couple years even before, I think probably 2020-ish. I'm not familiar, or I'm not exactly sure when he took it over. So Adam had it, and when Adam left, I took it over. So it's always been there, but the reason it's become a little bit more of a work sink. It's become more of a workload the last year. I mean, it's a hot topic. There's a lot going on with the program. So this year in particular, it's been a little bit more of a workload, but it's something that we're looking at once we get more hydrologists to kind of balance out a little bit better.
Well, that's where I was headed, was at least initiate the discussion on getting more help for you guys. So I think that's probably about all I can say without it being a posted agenda item on this meeting, but I would like to add it to the next one. So, which also moves us from action item G to H, which is to inform the board that the staff will poll us at a later time to also have another opportunity to add agenda items to the next meeting. And with that, there are no more action items. We can go ahead and adjourn. We don't necessarily need a motion to adjourn, but we'll pronounce the meeting adjourned at 10:51 a.m.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.